looking at everything.
Were you looking at boys and girls?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have a word for it? Because I think when you're younger, you don't even have language for what it is.
I don't need language. I don't need a categorizing statement for it. I think that's one thing that.
So you don't want to be labeled gay?
I don't want to be labeled gay. I want to be labeled a human who loves humans. I'm tired of being labeled. I'm an American. I'm not an African American. I'm an American.
Oh, girl, don't set up this Twitter on fire.
What? All right. So.
Yeah, I mean, we have a tendency to do that anyway. I mean, you get politically correct stuff happens that you don't want to happen. I all of a sudden became an African. African American. I'm not African. American. I'm not African.
Americans versus being American. Like, what do you think the difference is?
I think what Raven was trying to imply was that African Americans are people that live in America but were born in Africa. And I read an article about this, and she said that she's like from Louisiana. Why would she say that she's African American? Because Louisiana is in America. So I kind of identify with that. And then her separation between African American and Black, I think, is not necessarily geared toward heritage, but almost like skin tone, you know. So she realizes that her skin tone is darker than white people, so she identifies more so, I guess, as Black than as African American, where she views African American as originating, being born in Africa, and then moving to America.
Yeah, like it's exactly what you just said. Like people, like sometimes people use, like they will say African Americans to sugarcoat whether or not you being called Black or whatever. You may take offensive when somebody of the other race calls you Black instead of African American. But you have Indian American, you have all types of different Americans who were they're born in a different country, but they come to America. But if you're born within America, you're American. So I feel like it just depends on how you interpret it and how you have grown up with the terminology, whether in like vice versa, and actually going out to do your own research, trying to figure out exactly who you are and where you originate. And people, yeah, even though I feel like we all may be somewhat people of African descent, we like some of us weren't born in Africa. So some people call themselves African American just because they don't want to just say I'm Black, but really you're American because you were born in America.
Like now you're differentiating us again. Like, you know what I'm saying? Why are you American and I'm not?
Mm-hmm.
So.
I was just gonna say that I've always used Black and African American as interchangeable. Honestly, I never even differentiated them to be different. And then as I got older, of course, you know, you meet people that are actually African. And I mean, I think I've differentiated being African American and then actually being African. And it's interesting because I know this girl that was born in Egypt and she's Arab, but she considers herself African American. Why not? She's literally born in Africa. So, but everybody else looks at her and says you can't call yourself African American. So
They got their own smell too.
I was about to say like how you said we was to go in their country, because if we was to go there, they're like, well, where are you from? You're like, I'm American. You'll be like, I'm African American in Africa. You'll be like, I'm American. So I feel like.
Yeah. Then, like, what would they consider the other Black people who lived in Europe and people who's living in South America? They're all Black, so do they say, what, Black European, Black British? They don't have no label. They just consider British. They consider Brit, but this is the only country that we have a label. Like, if you look at any forms that we have, you see Caucasian, and you see Black African American, you see Native American, you see Chinese American. Like, these are all people who was born in their country who came to America, but we always have the label of black African American, but yet we are black and we were born in America, so why should we have this label? Why can't we just be black Americans? Like Chinese Americans or Native Americans. You feel me?
I do see some applications that mean like some stuff that have black/African American.
Yeah.
I don't just see like just African American, like that's the only choice you have, because there is like black/African American.
You know, what you that's one thing that's kind of frustrating because our history kind of snatched what we all kind of want to have. Like everybody else that's from another country and moves here, they know where they're from. We don't. So like, you know, we kind of attach ourselves to whatever we're given or whatever we give ourselves, but we don't have that. Our history changed to the point where we don't know what country we could potentially identify with in Africa. There are people that are from Jamaica that are black, and they look just like us. So why, you know?
It's the color of our skin.
Hey, Drew, I don't think the political term for American is right at all because Americans wasn't even here first. They just stole this country. And when they stole the country, they just gave it a name out of nowhere. They even had the respect to even ask the Native Americans, if you want to call them that, the natives, if they had a name for their civilization, like at all. So I just think just American period is just wrong. It just got a bad history behind it. But if we do move forward, it's just from that it's like being labeled as African American is I don't believe it's right either because we got so much other culture inside of all of us now and we don't even like you can't even when I say I'm like speaking in dog terms, we just mutts, you know, walking around here and we really don't have anything. We got a lot of everything.
I feel like we knew more, like what Malcolm X was saying, we knew more of like our last names, our native tongue. If we had that close tie, I'll be more proud to say that I'm African American because I can tell you about my place, I can tell you about my homeland. Most Chinese people that are born here, they're probably Chinese American. They still practice same traditions and all that kind of good stuff. We don't have anything to look that to practice or to believe in, even the faith of Christianity or anything that we have here. It's not our own. I'm not saying like if you believe, I believe too, but like that wasn't something that originally in Africa, I'm pretty sure it wasn't a big religion back then. So it's kind of like everything we have now wasn't ours. It was always given to us or forced onto us. So everything we see and do is kind of like it's not our own. It's not. If I knew more about where I was from or where I was located, I feel like I am African American, but not one standpoint. I feel like I'm just a black, confused American title. So I feel like I'm just like you said, we're just here. We have to make our own kind of things up because everyone's forced so much on us that we have to kind of like make something that made sense to us.
I don't know if y'all know my roots, but it's like, I don't know if y'all know me, y'all be like, I'm African. And like, I wish I was African because therefore I would know my background. I would know where I come from. And as lack of words, not just be a butt out here. When I actually have African friends and Jamaican friends, and I'd be like low-key jealous. Like, I tell them, she's African. And I tell her, I'm like, man, I really wish I had my roots like that. Let me go back home and say hi to my family and come back with like actual heirlooms and that I can give as gifts. Like, but it's like Detroit. Not that I'm putting down Detroit, but it's like that's not. I don't really feel like that's where my history is at. That's where my family is. But let us all go back to where our history is at. You know, I attach to African American because I don't want to be just American. I want to have like an actual heritage that I'm from. Like America is a melting pot. But it's like, where do I come in to go into the melting pot? Like,
For
that's
me,
why
it's just like I am what I am. I don't have labels, period. I identify with myself being like a spirit in a body and not the other way. I mean, yeah, a spirit that has a body and not the other way around. So my skin tone and all that is null and void to me.
If I didn't know you, I'd think you African. But ask your grandparents about y'all roots.
I don't even know.
I mean, but even your grandparents couldn't even tell you those. Slavery went on for a long time, you know? So
They'll tell you what tribe they was from. Like I got Cherokee.
People get their roots traced, and I've seen it. People get their roots traced, and they be like 70% European to be black as me, like for real. It's real. Like, and we really have no idea. And if we went back to Africa and tried to figure out, like, oh, are you are you my root? And they wouldn't even accept you, cause you,
Yep.
you foreign now, you're not even
I'm
African.
just not getting in tune with like my family history. And a lot of my family, old age run in my family, so I got like a lot of aunts that's like 95 and 98. My grandma died when she was 97, so like it go back to my roots. Like, it's crazy. You just gotta ask. I don't know. That's outside of what I'm doing, my life, because I don't want to think about it. So I am, but I'm not. It's, a lot of people need to get more in tune to what's going on around the world, so they can maybe, I don't know, research or something.